My name is Melanie Pesco. I am the co-lead of the Vision Aware program, and I am here with my colleague, Pris Rogers. And we both put these webinars on usually every month. We have at least one webinar, sometimes two. Right now, we are in the midst of, I think this is the second of several webinars related to diabetes and low vision. So I am going to go ahead and hand things over to Pris, and she will tell you all about the people that are going to be with us today. Also, I will be monitoring the chat. Again, if you have any questions, make sure to change the to fields so it reads all panelists and attendees. And Pris, go ahead and take it away.
Okay, thanks, Melanie. Well, I'm very excited because we have a couple of wonderful presenters here with us today. We have Kim Ladd, whom, if you've been here before for the diabetes webinars, you've heard Kim speak and you know how good she is. Kim is a registered nurse. She's a certified diabetes care and education specialist, and she has all kinds of credentials, let me tell you, in the field of diabetes. And she has been updating our web programs, our website, with information on diabetes, as well as doing webinars for us. So like Melanie said, we've already had one or two from her, and we'll be having more, and that's great because we're adding a lot of great information to the site and to the Connect Center. So in addition to Kim, we have Miranda Vrandenberg, who is a personal trainer and nutrition specialist. And Marana has just joined Vision Aware as a peer advisor, and she has written a post on her experience on using a continuous glucose monitor. And it's a really interesting post about what a difference it's made in her life. So I know she'll talk about that today, but I encourage you to also read the post, and I'm sure Melanie has put that out in the resources as well. Marana is an athlete with training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and she's known among her friends and family as a gym rat. So you'll get to see Marana in action in just a minute. So I'm going to turn the program over to, I'm not sure which one is going first. Kim, are you going first today? Or is it Marana?
Yes, I am starting. Yes.
All right, great. Well, thank you.
All right, let me make sure I can share my screen here. Yes, I can. So thank you. Let me bring up, I have a very short PowerPoint, basically just to keep me on track. Sometimes I get a little tangential and like to talk, so I keep going and going. So let me start this. Give me 1 second. We all love technology when it works. Slideshow. Here we go. So this is monitoring your blood sugar levels at home with low and no vision. So first, I just want to do a really brief review of diabetes. Since I'm a diabetes educator, I'm a nerd and love to talk about diabetes. So I give a little bit of information every time I do one. So basically, diabetes is formally called diabetes mellitus, and it is a chronic disorder of carbohydrate metabolism resulting from inadequate production or utilization of insulin. Basically, with diabetes, your pancreas, which is the organ in your body that makes the hormone insulin, doesn't work right. You know, there's lots of different types of diabetes. The two main ones are type 1 and type 2. With type 1, it's an autoimmune disease. So for some unknown reason, your body attacks your pancreas and prevents it from being able to produce insulin. So if you have type 1, you are taking insulin in some form or another. Type 2 is the most common type of diabetes, and that is, I like to call it that your pancreas is tired. Basically, your pancreas either makes too much insulin because of insulin resistance in your body. It doesn't utilize insulin properly. So your pancreas thinks it needs to make more to keep up with the demand. And over time, that wears your pancreas out. So type 2 usually gets diagnosed when you're older. Type 1 usually gets diagnosed when you're a child or a teenager or a young adult. With type 2, this is the type that you don't necessarily have to take insulin. Usually when you first find out you have it, you can treat it with exercise, which lowers your blood sugar level, eating healthy, meaning controlling your carbohydrate intake, because carbohydrates turns into sugar in your body, and that is what you need insulin for. You need insulin to move that sugar from your bloodstream into the cells where it can be used for energy. And then also you could take medicines, which there are all different types of diabetes medications. There are pills, there are shots, and there is insulin. But all that's for another day. I just wanted to give you an overview so this would kind of make sense. So why is maintaining blood sugar levels so important? Well, with diabetes, what happens is when you eat carbohydrates, your body metabolizes that carbohydrate into sugar. The sugar is in your bloodstream, and insulin opens up your cells and moves that sugar into your cells, where your cells in your body use it for energy. So basically, carbohydrates are your body's first source of energy. However, if you eat too much sugar and your body doesn't make enough insulin, that sugar stays in your bloodstream. And that is what's bad about high blood sugar. Sugar is an irritant. So if it stays in your bloodstream, it is irritating your nerves, your cells, your muscles, your organs, everything that the bloodstream touches. So that is why it's so important to know what your blood sugar level is, because if it's high for a long time, you're going to have complications from diabetes. I already said all that. I'm ahead of my slides here. So basically, controlling your blood sugar level is controlling your diabetes, and that prevents complications. So what are the complications of diabetes? Basically, if you think about it, where does blood go in your body? It goes everywhere. So any organ or system in your body is prone to diabetes complications. The number one complication of diabetes is cardiovascular disease. That is what most people that have diabetes die from. So it's also very important to pay attention to your heart health. I've been teaching about diabetes for almost 30 years, and it is very rare that I meet someone that has diabetes that also does not have high blood pressure. They seem to go hand in hand just because they're so interrelated. On a personal note, I have diabetes. I do not have vision loss because of diabetes. So I have my vision, but I have diabetes, and I have hypertension. It kind of got diagnosed at the same time. So that's one reason I'm so passionate about diabetes and preventing complications in people. Another complication of diabetes is eye disease. It's the number one cause of blindness in adults. Also, slow healing wounds, infections of the kidneys, skin, and bladder, bladder dysfunction, gum disease and gum infections, sexual problems, kidney failure. Diabetes is the number one cause in America of end-stage kidney disease, meaning you need to be on dialysis. Gastroparesis, which is where it affects the nerves in your stomach and you don't digest food properly. So you have to eat special kind of food and space it out and eat small meals usually to deal with it. Neuropathy, which is the pain in your extremities, nerve pain in your extremities, which leads to neuropathic pain. Well, neuropathy is the damage to the nerves, and then you get neuropathic pain. Foot ulcers and lower extremity amputations. Diabetes also is the number one cause of lower extremity amputations. All right, so what should your blood sugar levels be? This is from the American Diabetes Association. These are their recommended targets for everyone, regardless of your age. Some people, some young children, and some older people, and some people with different disease processes will be on a different target range. So that's something for you to consult your doctor about. They might want you to be a little bit higher or a little bit lower than these numbers, but typically your blood sugar should be between 80 and 130. And in America, I know we have some international people on, but in America, we measure it in milligrams per deciliter. Around the world, they use a different system in some places, MMOLs and a couple other things, but I'm just I don't know that chart. So I'm just going to talk about the ones we use here. So 80 to 130, that's fasting, meaning without food in your stomach when you wake up and between meals. Up to 2 hours after you eat, you want your blood sugar to be 180 or below. If your blood sugar is ever over 180, that's considered hyperglycemia, which is high blood sugar. If it's below 70, that's considered hypoglycemia or low blood sugar. My last webinar that I did in April was all about diabetes basics. So if you have any questions about this or how to treat it if it's high or low, go back to that webinar and review some of that stuff because I answer all those questions. All right. So once again, this is just another chart for your reference. Less than 70 is low blood sugar, higher than 180 is high blood sugar. So now I'm just going to talk a little bit about testing your blood sugar at home, because that's what we're all talking about today. So here's just a few tips. I do suggest, especially if you have low vision or no vision, keep all of your testing supplies together. Like get a little plastic container or basket or box and keep your meter in there, your alcohol pads if you use them, your lancing device, your strips, everything you need to test your blood sugar. Keep it in one spot and keep it in the same place. That way you know where it is in case you need to quickly check your blood sugar for some reason if you're feeling weird. Also know that each meter takes specific strips. Unfortunately, I get this question all the time. I have someone call me and tell me they got a weird reading, like it said 62 and they feel fine. And they know it's not that low. Why am I getting it? And then I go pay them a visit and I realize they're using AccuCheck brand strips with their Prodigy meter, and it doesn't work. Each meter has its own strips. There are a few exceptions. The Prodigy meters that we're going to talk about today, they both use the same strip, but it's a Prodigy strip. So you can't take like an AccuCheck strip and put it in a Prodigy meter and get a correct reading. So just know that. Sometimes I went to one person's house one time to help them. She had 15 meters in her house because she had a mail order company, and every year they would send her a new meter. And she had all these different boxes of strips, and she kept getting all these weird numbers. So that is what it was. She was taking last year's strips and using them this year's machine, which was a new machine. So just know that that will give you completely inaccurate results. Also, out-of-date strips aren't guaranteed to return true readings. You know, they still work. And I'm not saying I haven't used out-of-date strips before, but it's not as accurate of a reading. There's an expiration date on everything. It's usually about a year, and is an expiration date for a reason. Also, before you actually test your blood, before getting the blood on the strip, set up everything. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. It just makes it easier. All right. So another question that I get a lot is people have problems getting enough blood for testing, especially if you've been testing and pricking your fingers for years. So I wish I had magic pixie dust that made this all easier, but there's not. But there are a few tips that may help. One thing is make sure you are hydrated. So if you're going to check it in the morning and you kind of have a problem getting blood on the strip, drink some water. Make sure you're well hydrated before you try to test your blood sugar. Also, wash your hands with warm water. The heat helps bring the blood to your extremities. You know, when your extremities are cold, that heat in your blood goes up to your heart to protect your heart. When you're warm, you have better blood flow. You could also hang your arm, you know, the arm of the finger you're going to prick to your side. Just dangle it for a few minutes and kind of shake it around to help gravity push that blood to your extremities. You could also apply a warm compress to the finger that you're going to stick prior to testing. Now, I don't want a boiling hot one. You can wet a washcloth, put it in the microwave for about 10 seconds, and then put it on your fingers for maybe a minute, and that will help the blood flow as well. You could also massage the hand prior to testing. A lot of people talk about milking the finger, which is kind of pressing the finger that you're going to stick, pressing hard and kind of moving your fingers up the finger you're pricking to try to get that blood flow. You really shouldn't milk it, because what happens is some of the serous fluid in your blood mixes with the blood and it can mess up the results. So it's okay to apply pressure to the finger that you're going to stick, but don't milk the finger per se, if that makes sense. Also, don't test on the same finger each time, because you do build up scar tissue. So you want to rotate the sites. And you can also adjust the lancing depth of your lancing pin. Usually it's numbered 1 to 5. So if you're turning it counterclockwise, that's going to be 1. If you turn it clockwise, that's going to be 5. The higher the number, the deeper the needle goes in your skin. So you might need to put it on 5 to get a bigger prick, so you have a larger blood area to choose from. So now what I'm going to do is talk a little bit about some talking blood glucose meters. I call them glucometers. That's kind of a catch term for them. Let me lower my screen here so that I can show you that instead of my PowerPoint. Okay, here we go. All right. So I have, you know, there are more talking meters on the market than I have. The ones that I have are the ones that I tend to help people get just because I think they're pretty user friendly, and they seem to be more available places. The first one I'm going to start with is the Prodigy Voice. Now, I kind of call this one the Cadillac of meters because they kind of revolutionized the talking meter market. The Prodigy Voice, you don't need any visual assistance at all to set it and operate it because the entire machine talks to you. So I have a sample here. It is about the size of a deck of cards. It's a little heavier and bigger than most of the meters on the market these days. The bottom is round and the top of it is a little bit more square. It has a notch on the top. So if you feel around the meter, around the top edge, you'll feel a little notch. And that is where the strip goes. On the face of the meter, there are 2 buttons on the right side. They are arrow buttons. They have an embossed kind of arrow on them. So you can feel that one points up and one points down. These are just buttons that help you maneuver through screens. Near the bottom of the face, there are 3 buttons. There are 2 kind of oblong buttons. One is longer than the other, and then there is a circular button. The circular button is the power button and the memory button. So if you push the memory button, it will read through the blood sugar readings that you have on this. Let's hope this cooperates with me. Whenever I do a webinar, my equipment never wants to cooperate. So let me touch that and see if you can hear it.
Your Prodigy meter is on. Today's date, March 25, 2017. The time, 4:24 a.m. Please insert the test strip.
All right, so it's wanting me to start.
Average 91 milligrams per deciliter.
So it said 91 was the last reading. So I'm going to use those buttons on the side to maneuver through the other readings.
14-day average 91 milligrams per deciliter. 21-day average 91 milligrams per deciliter.
So I only have 1 reading on this device because I tend to take the batteries out, which kind of wipes it out, because when I'm driving around, I hit a bump, all my meters will start talking to me. So I tend to take the batteries out when I'm out and about in the field. But okay, so if you could hear, the date on this one said it was March 21st. So we need to set that. So this is the only meter that I know of that you can set without assistance. So you find the set button, which is on the front near the bottom. It is the shortest oblong button, and you press that one and hold it down.
Goodbye.
Well, now it's going to turn off first, and then I got to turn it back, press it again.
Your Prodigy meter is on. You are now in setting mode.
So it told me
Volume level.
you are now in setting mode, and it wants you to change the volume. I have it up at the highest,
7,
which is 7, but you can also make it lower,
6,
and it tells you
5,
5,
6,
6,
7.
7. It tells you what level you're at. So if you can't hear it that well, I'm sorry, but I do have it up at the highest. So I have my volume at 7. So I'm going to hit the set button again to go to the next setting.
The year 2017.
So this is telling me it's 2017. So I'm going to once again use those arrow buttons on the side until I
2018.
hear the date that I
2019.
want.
2020. 2020.
Sometimes you have to hit it twice
2020.
or 3 times.
2021.
Okay, there we go.
March.
And now it's going to the date. So I continue to do that, and it talks through it.
May. June. The date 25.
I think that's wrong. It's the 23rd.
24. 23.
There
The
we go.
hour 4 a.m. 5 a.m.
I'm just going to pretend it's AM so I can speed this up a little bit.
26. 27.
And I'm just going to pretend it's 529 so we can get moving.
Glucose unit is milligrams per deciliter.
So this one actually lets you change between milligrams, deciliter, and other types of unit. But like I said, in America, we are milligrams per
Deleting
deciliter.
record function.
This is the delete button that will allow you to delete your memory
Press the M
settings.
key for 5 seconds. All records will be deleted. Goodbye.
I don't want to do that, so I turned it off. So that kind of is how you set this one. I mean, I have vision, but if I didn't have vision, I would be able to know what the time, date, and what my memory readings were on this one. This one works. The other thing I like about it is you don't have to turn it on. If you have a strip, you just put the strip in the machine.
Thank you for using Prodigy Voice. Today's date, June 21. The time, 5:29 a.m. Please apply blood to the test strip.
So it talks you through it. I put the strip in, it turns the machine on, it tells you the time and the date, it tells you please apply the blood. My strips are expired. I just have them for teaching purposes, but if you, so you prick your finger and then you get the blood on there, it beeps when it has enough blood. And then within like 3 seconds, it will say, your blood sugar level is 123, and it will tell you what it is. So that's kind of how that works. Like I said, this is the Prodigy Voice. This is the one that you need no visual assistance at all. I'll talk later about how to get them and things like that. The next one I talk about, Prodigy Voice also is one of the most expensive ones. So that's one of the reasons a lot of people can't get it. The Prodigy Auto Code is another product by the Prodigy company. This is a less expensive one and it's easier to get. A lot of the major pharmacies have it. They usually have to order it because they don't stock it, but they can order it for you. The Prodigy Auto Code works the same way with turning it on. The strip insertion spot is on the top. This meter is a lot smaller than the Voice, and it's all pretty much like an oval shape. When you put the strip in the meter, it turns, oh, you know what? I didn't put my batteries in because I had them out because it was in my car. So let me put my batteries in. So all of them, the battery cover is on the back, and it has a little notch that you push and pull the battery out. So it takes 2 AA batteries, which is nice. Some meters take watch batteries, and I don't recommend those as much because it's harder to get watch batteries.
Please wait. Setting mode.
Okay,
English.
so this one is in setting mode, and it told you that it is in setting mode, but as I scroll through to change the settings, it's not going to tell you anything. That's the difference. And also the settings button for the Prodigy Auto Code is underneath the battery cover on the back. So you have to take the battery cover off, and the button is there inside the battery compartment. So I'm going to press that.
3.
So this is language. You can change languages. It has Spanish, French, English, a couple others. I think I put it in Spanish, so I guess we're going to hear Spanish now. So this, I press the settings button again, and the year is flashing, but I can't hear what I'm changing it to. So, you know, you might as well, this one you need actual visual assistance to set it. The only time you need to set it is when you change the batteries. That's why I always have to reset mine, because I'm always taking the batteries out. So that's the difference. This one is the wrong date, it's the wrong time and everything, and it won't read the memory to you. All the Prodigy Auto Code reads to you is it'll tell you that it's on, it'll tell you goodbye when it turns off, and when you put the strip in, it will tell you that it's on. This part works the same way as the Voice. It'll tell you, please apply blood. It'll beep when you get the blood, and then it will tell you what your reading is. So this is also a good choice if this is the only one you can get. The third one that I have for you, I have because to me, it is the easiest one to get. I the issues that I have mostly with getting talking meters is, besides insurance denying them, which I'll talk about later, is where to get one at, because a lot of people don't have them. This one is a Rely On Premier Voice, and this is a Walmart brand. And you know, Walmarts are everywhere here, so that's why it's pretty easy to get. This one is actually stocked on the shelf in the pharmacy department where the diabetic supplies are. And also, if you don't have insurance or your insurance copay is outrageous, this talking meter costs $14.99. So it is, you know, inexpensive and easy to find. If you have health insurance and you get a doctor's order written, you can take that order to the Walmart pharmacy, take this meter up to the pharmacy, and they will bill your insurance. So you might not have to pay anything, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. So this one kind of is like the Prodigy auto code. You do need visual assistance to set this one as well, but I'll show you. It works the same way with, you put the strip in and it turns on. And of course I have Rely On Premier strips for this one, because remember, the strips are not interchangeable. This one again has the insertion area for the strip where it's indented at the very, actually the top part, you can put earphones in. You can plug in earphones so that no one else can hear what your machine is telling you. The insertion strip for the strip is on the bottom of this one, but it's indented so you can feel it. A lot of times, if you have a hard time finding it, I will put a bump dot right in front of where the strip goes in, and that helps guide you to which insertion spot is the correct one for the strip. So I'm going to put the strip in. I believe my batteries are in this one. We'll find out.
Blood glucose. Please apply blood onto the test strip.
So this one kind of does the same thing. This one doesn't tell you the date and the time. So if you don't really care about that information, it's no big deal. But it does tell you to apply the blood. This one again will beep when you get enough blood, and then it will verbalize what your blood sugar reading is. So this is a good basic one that's easy to get and inexpensive. You know, people ask me about accuracy all the time. I mean, the answer to that is every meter sold in America has to be tested by the FDA, and they have to meet certain standards. So they all, I mean, you could take your blood sugar with the Prodigy and the Rely On, and you might get two different readings. You know, it might be one you get a 90 and one you get 100, which sounds really far apart, but those numbers are within the standard of FDA. They have to have a error rate of plus or minus 15%. So I really can't tell you which one is the most accurate, because it depends on when in the process the FDA tested it and all these other regulations, but they're all FDA approved. So they're all a good meter. It just depends on what fits your needs. So that's the Rely On Premier Voice talking meter. So if you have questions about those, we'll get to them later. I want to make sure we get through everything. So either put your question in chat so you don't forget it, or just hold on to it and we'll get to you. Let me share my screen here again. All right, we did all this. All right, so I did the demonstration of those. So here's something. This was a handout that you should have gotten if you wanted it. It's called the thumb guide method. You know, a lot of people with no vision or low vision, the number one thing that I help educate them on is getting the blood on the strip, which is the hardest thing ever when you can't see. I wish I had a magic wand. I don't. There's no really easy way. This is kind of a method that I developed that I have had people have a lot of success with. You know, most of my clients that I help, they tell me they're wasting 20 strips every time they're testing their blood sugar because they can't find the blood, and they'll get just a little bit or it'll smear, and then it's an error code. So you have to get another strip again. So this is kind of a method that I came up with that gives you a smaller surface area to choose from to get the blood so that you have a greater chance of actually getting it on the strip. I've had people that are totally blind, I had one lady who her average waist of strips was 10 to 15 every morning. I came and taught her how to do this method. She practiced, and after about a week of practicing, she only wasted 2 to 3 strips. So she's still wasting strips, but it's a lot less than she was, and it's been less frustrating for her. So I have step-by-step instructions. I mean, it's a little, to me, I think it's a little bit difficult for me to tell you and do it, but let's try. So whether you have diabetes or not, let's do this. Choose the hand that you're gonna fake stick, okay? So I'm gonna choose my left hand. First, remember, I'm gonna have all my supplies together. I'm gonna wash my hands. I'm gonna prepare my lancing device. So whether I use a lancing pin or a safety Lancet, which I recommend, it is a one-piece lancing device that you can't have an accidental stick with. With the lancing pin, you have to unscrew the top, get a needle, put it into the lancing device, tear off the end that covers the needle, put the end of the lancing device back on and screw it in. So there's lots of steps in that process where you could accidentally prick yourself. With the safety Lancet, it is a one-piece device that they all work a little bit differently. Some of them you just pull a top off and it's ready to use. This one that I have, you push in this plastic piece, twist it off, and that activates it. And then all you do is put that against your skin and press the trigger button, and the needle pops out and then pops back into the device. So the only thing you're pricking is your finger. All right, so I'm just going to pretend I'm using the safety Lancet, okay? So like I said, you have all your stuff together, you wash your hands, you've prepared your lancing device. I'm going to go ahead and put the monitor strip into my meter because I want to have it ready for when I prick myself.
Your Prodigy meter is on.
So now I've chosen my left hand. I'm going to stick my middle finger. So I'm going to take my thumb. Typically you want to have your hand on a table, but in order for y'all to see, I'm going to not use the table. So I'm going to use my thumb and I'm going to press on my middle finger near the end of my finger where the fingernail is, but you know, on the non-fingernail side. And I'm going to apply pressure. So this is doing a couple of things. One, it's applying pressure to help blood pool at the end of your finger. And two, it's marking an area, a surface area for me to get the blood from. So the thing is, once you put your thumb on that finger, it stays on that finger. So you're doing this with one hand, okay? So I'm going to take my lancing device, put it on my thumbnail, slide it down, and prick my finger. So now I know that I've pricked myself above where I am putting pressure on my finger. Then I'm going to take my meter that has my strip in it. I'm going to hold it like I'm throwing a dart. And I'm going to put that strip on my thumbnail, slide it down the thumbnail until it makes contact with that finger. If my meter does not beat, meaning it has not gotten enough blood, I'm going to pick the strip up off the finger just a little tiny bit and move it to another spot. And I'm going to continue to do that and hold it for like 3 seconds until I hear that beat. The reason you don't slide it on your finger is because you're going to smear the blood and you're not going to get enough of a sample. So that's basically it. It's having all of your supplies together, having your strip ready to go, putting pressure on your finger with your thumb so you know that you stuck yourself just above that thumb. So you don't have to poke around too much to try to find that blood. And I've had a lot of people have success with that. Even some people with neuropathy that maybe can't feel their fingers as well, they do tend to be able to know where they're putting pressure on that finger. So that's kind of just a tip. I hope that helps you. Like I said, it really takes a lot of practice. You know, be patient with yourself with any new skill, and you will get the hang of it. I've had a lot of people have success with that. I have searched and searched for any other kinds of hints. I'm sure there's some out there, but maybe people just haven't written about them or, you know, made a vlog about them or whatever it is. So if any of you have a wonderful idea, please share it with me so that I can share it with other people. That would be greatly appreciated. All right, so let me get back to this. All right, so that's all the thumb guide method. Like I said, you do have a handout on that. So now how to get a talking meter. So there's also a handout I gave you on this. Thank you, my meters are still talking to me. Okay, so I know there's international people, so this of course is for America. To get a talking meter and to get your insurance company to pay for it, you have to have a doctor's order. You don't have to have a doctor's order to buy a meter and supplies. You can just go to the pharmacy and buy it. But if you want the insurance company to pay some of it or all of it, you have to have a doctor's order. I got to tell you, usually what happens is the insurance company is going to deny it. The reason for that is because all major insurers contract with specific companies to supply their durable medical equipment, which is what a meter is. So say, for instance, you have Humana insurance. They might contract with Accu-Check for their meters. Well, Accu-Check does not make a talking meter. So when you get your doctor's order and you go to the pharmacy and you tell them you want a talking meter, the pharmacy is going to say your insurance denied it. They are usually going to automatically deny it. So what you need to do is you have to get your doctor involved to do a medical necessity form. Your doctor can either call your insurance company or his nurse, or they can fill out a form and say that you need a talking meter because you are blind. They cannot deny you a talking meter if it's medically necessary. Insurance companies take their coverage rules from Medicare. And per Medicare, if it's medically necessary, you get it. So I'm telling you, sometimes it's a burden to go through it. But if you truly don't have the money for it and you need it, you have to advocate for yourself and don't give up. Even when an insurance company says no, there's usually always a recourse to get it covered if it's medically necessary and your doctor has your back on that.
Kim, this might be a good time. Pardon me
Yes.
for the interruption.
Okay.
We do have one question from a rehab teacher asking if you have any suggestions about how rehab teachers can get models to share or to show people what's available.
Okay. Unfortunately, I wish I had a connection. I, bought these meters so I would have a demo product. I don't know if the agency you work for would buy you one so that you can use. I have never tried like calling up Prodigy and saying, hey, can I have a demo unit? But I don't really have an answer for that one, other than I bought mine because in my job, I don't have a budget. So if I want something, I beg, borrow, or steal. I hate to say that, but I try to get it however I can. So that's why these are the only models that I have, even though there's more out there. Were there any more questions about that?
Not that specifically. Okay. There is a question regarding about a talking meter for a pump. I don't know if that's something you want to address later on or now.
Yeah, so I can briefly discuss it now, but I think it might come up when we talk about continuous glucose meters. So I'll wait for that. There's not a blood sugar meter like these specifically for a pump. Pumps tend to work with continuous glucose meters, which we're going to talk about next. So let me get going because, see, I talk too much and I end up running out of time, and I want Marana to be able to talk because I want to hear what she has to say too. So let me get back to this. All right. So basically, you can get a meter at retail pharmacies. You can buy them online. There are mail order companies. Or there's a place called Accessible Pharmacy, which is a new pharmacy. I believe it's out of Pennsylvania. I always forget. They started a few months ago during COVID. This information is on the handout that I gave you about how to get a meter. This is a great pharmacy that I've had a lot of luck with. It was started by a blind pharmacist and his friend, who's his business partner, and they cater to low and no vision individuals. So they have the Prodigy products. So you can call them and tell them you want a talking meter, and they are very aware of the meters and how they work and how you can get one with your insurance company. They cannot, if you have a state Medicaid plan, there are many Medicaid plans that they cannot bill because Medicaid plans are state specific, so you can't cross over state lines. And because they're based in Pennsylvania, they might not be able to send a meter to you if you're in Wisconsin or whatever. But there are some extenuating circumstances where they can. But anyway, call them and they'll be able to tell you. But if for some reason your insurance won't cover it, you can get the Prodigy Auto Code, which is the one that needs visual assistance to set it for $10. And the strips, I believe they're $7 a month. So that is super cheap. They sell the Prodigy Voice, which is the Cadillac one that you can do with no assistance at all for $40, which is a very good price. And those strips are about $7 a month too. So I put that resource on that sheet so you would have that. And they're also a full service pharmacy, and they have talking medicine bottles and all kinds of stuff, which I'll go over that when I do a webinar on medication management. All right, so now we're going to get into continuous glucose meters. So continuous glucose meters are what I kind of said is what talk to insulin pumps, but you can also use them independently. It is a device used for measuring your blood glucose levels through your interstitial fluid on a continual basis. It takes a blood sugar reading at certain intervals by a sensor that has a thin, flexible filament that is inserted under the skin and held in place by adhesive. It sends the information either to a reader device, an app, or both. The thing I like about CGMs, which is the acronym for them, is they can be used by people with vision loss because you can make them accessible via the app. The readers itself that come with these CGMs are not accessible. The reader looks like a glucometer, but it's not accessible at all. They're touch screen and they don't talk to you. They'll probably send it to you anyway because it kind of comes as a package deal, but you don't even need to use it. You can just download the app and get your readings from the app. So if you have an Android phone, you have to have TalkBack on your phone, and it makes the app accessible. If you have an iPhone, you use it with VoiceOver. Just be aware that all phones are not accessible. If you have an older phone, they're not accessible. So you really need to try to download the app on the phone before you get it to make sure you can download it, because I did have that happen with one person. So I'm going to talk about the Freestyle Libre, and then Marana is going to talk about the Dexcom. So I used the Freestyle Libre for myself. So this was a unit I got when it first came out. This is the original one. It was a 10-day one. Now they have the 14-day one and also the Freestyle Libre 2. Right now, do not get the Freestyle Libre 2. The app has not been FDA approved, so there's no app for it. So if you get this CGM right now, you want the Freestyle Libre 14-day. That's the one you want because it has an app that's accessible. So basically the Freestyle Libre, let me stop sharing so I can show you what this is, comes in two parts. There's one bigger box that has the reader in it, and then there's a smaller box that has the sensor in it. I'm going to grab the reader because I had it charging. Like I said, it looks like a glucometer. It is a touch screen. So I don't know if you can, it's the glare, you can't even see it. So you have to have vision to use this. Basically, you turn it on, it says start new sensor or review history. So it'll do graphs and tell you average glucose and all that stuff. But we're not even going to worry about the reader because it's not accessible. So you're going to put the app on your phone. My phone never wants to work on these things. So, hey, Google, open the Freestyle Libre app.
Here are some results.
My TalkBack does not want to work correctly, so I'm going to cheat and just click on it. So I open the app. Basically, when you download the app, you have to set up an account. So you're going to need your name, your phone number, and your email account. And then it will send you an email, and you have to click on that email to activate the account. But if you have TalkBack on, it will talk you through the things on the screen. Unfortunately, I can't really do anything and show you the app because I haven't started a sensor. But what you do is you can start your sensor from the app instead of the reader, and that will make it accessible. So I pulled up the app and it's telling me I need to apply a new sensor. So what's a sensor? The sensor is the thing that is getting your blood sugar readings. That comes in the smaller box. It comes in 2 parts. There is the installer, and then there is the sensor. I call it a yogurt cup. The sensor comes in a little thing that looks like a small yogurt cup to me. You peel off the top, and the sensor is down in there. So then you get the inserter, and it's a plastic piece. It has 2 parts, a top and a bottom. You screw them apart, and that is your inserter. It kind of looks like a medieval device or something. I don't know. But basically what you have to do, and there are video tutorials and online on how to do this. I have had many people that have no vision. I've taught them how to insert the sensor. It's a little scary at first, but once you get used to it, it's easy cheesy. Basically what you're doing is you have to take the inserter device and attach the sensor inside it. So there's specific steps you take. This one's not going to work properly because it's already used, but basically you're putting the sensor inside this inserter device. So that's what the bottom of the sensor looks like. The sensor is about the size of a $50 and about the width of 2 quarters stacked on top of each other. So it's kind of small. It has a little plastic filament, and that is what is in your skin getting your blood sugar reading. So basically this is the trigger mechanism. That's what I call it anyway. This you wear on the back of your arm. So I tell people to fold their arm at the elbow and put it up next to their head. And that area that's next to your head, that's where you're going to put it at. Unfortunately, this is like baby soft skin because it doesn't get exposed to the elements a lot. So it does hurt a little bit to insert it. But remember, it's 1 time every 14 days instead of sticking your finger 2, 3, 4, 5 times a day. So I just put up with it. So you just put it on the back of your arm and you push this. And then when you take the trigger off, the sensor will be stuck on your arm. And then that sensor is what you're scanning with your phone app. And it will tell you your blood sugar is 72 or whatever. And you can scan this sensor as many times a day as you want. It takes a reading every 1 minute. So, you know, if you did it back to back to back every 2 seconds, you're going to get the same reading until a minute is up. So that's kind of in a nutshell how the Freestyle Libre works. All right. So I think I've talked enough about that. Yes.
Might be a good time to ask you. We did have someone ask if it's okay to share your handouts with colleagues.
Definitely. Go for it.
All right.
So I did want to say the Libre is cleared for adults and children 4 years and older. The Libre 2 that's out that I said does not have the approved app yet, does have alarms that you can set to alert you if your blood sugar is high or low. So the app is set to be approved within a few months. So if you can wait a few months to get the Libre 2, that one's the best one because it has the alarms and it will also have the app. You do change the sensor every 14 days. And once you put a new sensor in, it takes an hour to calibrate. So you'll have an hour where you will not be able to get blood sugar readings. So now Marana is going to talk about the Dexcom G6. I just want to first say Dexcom was the world's first continuous glucose meter system. It also tracks your glucose levels continuously throughout the day. It sends readings to your smart device or receiver every 5 minutes. One of the big differences is you do not scan with the Dexcom. It automatically does it for you. So I'm going to have Marana talk now, and I'm going to take a little break. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Marana, thank you for joining us. Go ahead. If you're able to turn your camera on, there you go. Thanks.
Thanks, Melanie. Hey guys, I'm Miranda Bradenburg. I have been a type 1 diabetic now for 32 years and it was the cause of my vision loss 15 years ago. And I have been on the Dexcom system now for about 3 years. And after 30 years of finger sticks, it was a welcome relief for sure. It doesn't completely eliminate the need for a glucose meter. There are times whenever we may need to calibrate or something that I still do use a glucose meter or just to double check to make sure that my readings that I'm getting are accurate. But it is fully accessible with VoiceOver. There are a couple of things that you would need. some visual assistance with. I like the Dexcom. I prefer a continuous glucose monitor because, as Kim said whenever she was talking about it, I am an athlete, and I feel like a CGM gives me a much better real-time view of where my glucose is going. If I'm in the middle of a workout and it says that, you know, if I do a finger prick, it says I'm at 120. Am I 120 and going up? Am I 120 and falling, or what? And the Dexcom will give you all that information. It'll tell me I'm 120 and stable, I'm 120 and, you know, slowly rising, if I'm rapidly rising, or if I'm slowly falling or rapidly falling. So I know how I'm going to treat it, you know, if treat a sugar if I end up having a problem. So the Dexcom comes in 2 pieces as well. You've got well, it does have a receiver, like as Kim explained, it is not accessible at all. So I do have the Dexcom app on my phone, and you have the transmitter, which is here. I'm gonna actually do an application. I'm gonna put on a new sensor for you guys while I do this. You have the transmitter here that is probably about, it's a little over an inch long and probably about a quarter of an inch wide. It is not very thick. It kind of reminds me of, it's a little bit smaller than a peanut in its shell. And then the sensor applicator is this device here. And it has a little tab on the top. It kind of looks like a hand mixer. If you can imagine, there was like beaters hanging down here. That's what it looks like. And there's a little button on the top, like where you would even push to release the beaters. And so here we have the app.
Walmart.
I'm
Dexcom
gonna open
G6.
that up. I'll just walk you through this
Dexcom
real quick
G6.
to show you
New
what it's
sensor.
like.
Button.
So from the top, scrolling right,
New sensor. Button.
go to the very top.
Button.
Okay, so there's a share feature on here, which is really a great feature. The Dexcom gives you the ability to share your glucose readings with 5 people of your choosing. So I have my family connected to it. So if I'm having a low and it doesn't wake me up, if I'm asleep and it's not alerting me, somebody in my family is going to know that I'm having a problem. And even though I may be in another state, and they can't get to me, they can at least get help to me so long as they know where I'm at, which has happened before. And it's a huge relief as somebody who, you know, you fear, there's something called dead in bed. And that's a thing for a reason, because low blood sugars while you're sleeping, people have died from it. And it's nice to know that you have that extra security. Calibrate. So with the Dexcom, you have a couple of options. With the Dexcom G6, you can set it up to where you enter in a code, which I'll show you here in a minute. And you don't have to do any sort of calibration. If you don't have a code and you're entering in a new sensor without any sort of without the code, then you're going to have to calibrate so that it knows, it can kind of, you know, measure where you're at.
Trend graph. New sensor. Button.
So the new sensor button, this is where you're going to go to start a new sensor whenever you're starting.
Trend graph.
The trend graph is shows you kind of what your blood sugar is doing over time. You can it's a helpful tool with your physician. You can take it in there and he can kind of see, like, you can see how different foods affect your blood sugar if you are, you know, exercising or whatever, or if you have dawn phenomenon where you're sleeping and your blood sugars rise as the, you know, dawn comes around. You can start to see that, so you can fine tune your medication to make sure that you're getting it is in as much control as possible.
Events. Button.
Events will show you, you can document different events. Like if you have a low, you can take notes. If you have a high, you can take notes, kind of see what may have caused it.
Settings.
And then we have the settings button. We'll go in here.
Share. On. Button. Alerts. Button. See. Share. Settings. Home.
Okay, says settings.
Settings.
This is our settings. So
Share. On.
So share, as I explained, you can share it with 5 other people. You would click on this app or this option.
Setting. Dexcom share. Head sharing. Switch to temporarily stop sharing.
So you can switch this on or off.
To temporarily sharing status on. Add follower.
So you go to add follower, and there you would put in an email address, and it would send a link to whoever, you know, whoever's email address it is, and that would allow them to follow your glucose readings. And they can also, with the Dexcom, you can set the parameters. So if you want to be alerted whenever your lows are, so I have my lows set to read at 85 and my highs at 200. So if I fall anywhere outside of that range, then it's going to to alert me and let me know, but you can choose what you want it as. I do 85 because my family has their set like at 75, and I really want to be alerted before my family's alerted as to what my body is doing. So let's go. But each person can customize that, and they can be alerted whenever they want to be alerted.
Back button.
And then
Insertion time. No sensor inserted.
okay, so it's telling me I don't have an insert.
Graph height. 400 milligrams.
Okay, so the
TF.
graph height is if my blood sugar goes above 400, then the reading is just going to say high. And I think with a low, if it's below 40, it's just going to say low.
Insertion time. No sensor inserted.
I don't have a sensor inserted.
Sensor expires. No sensor last calibration. None.
It's going to tell you when you last calibrated if you're doing the calibration option.
Transmitter. 8N24.
Okay, so this is where we're going to do well, in just a minute, I'll show you. You have to insert serial code into the transmitter in order to get it to pair with your phone. And the transmitters last 3 months. So they'll send you one, you enter in the transmitter code. The transmitters last 3 months, and a new sensor lasts for 10 days.
Use Apple Health. Off. Siri shortcuts. Calibrate. Button.
Calibrate again.
Support.
Support. So support is where you're going to go to contact Dexcom and all that kind of stuff. So let's go back out of here.
Home. Back button. New trend graph.
Okay,
New sensor.
so we're going to click on new sensor.
Stop. Button. Sensor code. Heading. Sensor code is on sensor applicator.
So sensor code is on sensor applicator.
Enter code.
Enter code. So here we enter the code, or
No code.
if you have no code, then that's where you would go. And then after that, you would have to calibrate.
Enter code.
So we're going to go to enter code.
Only enter sensor code from sensor you insert. Take photo. Button.
You have the option to take a photo. I haven't found that to be accessible because, like with many things, you have to have it within a certain, area on the screen, and it's just never worked for me very well.
Enter manually. Button.
So we're going to enter manually.
Enter sensor. Text field is editing. Enter sensor.
Okay,
code.
so text field is editing. So I'm going to put in the code here. I actually
Use order to
need
access
to check and make sure I wrote it down before. So it's, my code is 9159, and the code can be found right here on the little sticky tabs on the applicator. So the code's written there. So you can use like Seeing AI. You could use whatever app it is, or a person that you have to read you text and stuff.
Text field.
So
is editing.
we're going to enter in
6 9 9 1 1 2 2 5 5 9 9. Find sensor code on sensor app. No code. Text. Save.
So we're going back up here to save.
Save. Alert.
It's going to have you confirm.
9159. Cancel. Confirm.
Confirm.
Save. Dim. Button. Watch video. Button.
Okay, so here's giving us the option to watch a video.
Insert and attach video. Next. Button.
Okay, next.
Share. Button. Calibrate. Button. Start sensor. Button.
Okay, so then we're going to go to the start sensor button.
Alert. Last session alert. Your transmitter will only last for one more session.
Okay, so this is alerting me that my transmitter is gonna not last for another session. This is gonna be the last one, and then I'm gonna have to attach a new transmitter.
Okay. Button.
Okay button.
Sensor warm up.
And then the sensor warm up. So it's gonna take me through. With the Dexcom, you actually have a 2-hour sensor warm up. So it does take a little bit longer than the Libre, but I don't use the Libre. I don't know anybody that has used it, but I've just used a Dexcom. But as I said, I think the best feature on here is with the Dexcom, it does alert you. So if you're rapidly falling, if my blood sugar gets to 100 or whatever, and it's falling super fast, and it's gonna, be down to 55 within 20 minutes, it will give me an urgent low alert, and it will let me know if I'm going to be 55 or below within 20 minutes, so I can go ahead and treat and stuff. My hemoglobin A1C has improved remarkably since I've been on the Dexcom. I'm able to treat instead of testing my blood sugar and thinking I'm okay, but having it creep up on me and not knowing it, not until my next test. It's really nice to be able to get a little bit of a heads up and to have it. The Dexcom does update every 5 minutes. So it will automatically alarm. It'll automatically alert you if you go out of range. So it's been a great system. I do enjoy that it is fully accessible. I've never had an issue with the app. The only times that I've had issues with the sensor is if I put it in a place that maybe has some scar tissue. It doesn't really get a correct reading then. As Kim was saying, they do have standards with the FDA, you know, having to be in range. And my understanding, what I've been told, is that the Dexcom is going to be, can be 9 points off. You know, if you're from what your actual glucose is, it can be 9 points either up or down. So they've actually made that window a little bit narrower as far as what the FDA allows. So I hope I've given you guys enough.
We actually had a question. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I
No,
wanted
go
to
ahead,
see,
go ahead.
thought this might be a good time to ask. Did your doctor make the decision about getting the continuous monitor, or is that your decision? Who makes that choice?
I actually spoke with my diabetic educator. So
Okay.
We were talking about it and was just not really having any luck with. And I was also at a point whenever I was having a number of a lot of hypoglycemic unawareness where my blood sugars were dropping and I wasn't feeling it. And so I needed something to alert me to know that I was actually having a problem and stuff. So I spoke with my diabetic educator about it. She recommended the Dexcom, and then my doctor wrote the prescription, and I was able to contact Dexcom and get it that way.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Marana. So I just want to clarify, with the Dexcom, what steps in the insertion process do you need visual assistance, or can you do it all non-visually?
So I can do it with the steps that I need visual assistance. There is, like I said, this code on the tabs here that you'll need to put into the phone that I had done. And then on the transmitter, with the new transmitter on the box, there's a label, and there's a number on that serial number on that box that you'll have to get read to you. Again, that's available with, you know, whatever app you use or to get text read to you. But those are the only parts that are not accessible.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So that's one little difference between the Freestyle and the Dexcom. The Freestyle, you really, there's no numbers to enter, so you don't really need any visual assistance with that. So, you know, it's kind of 6 of one, half dozen of the other, which one you choose to use. They both work basically the same way. The Freestyle Libre, you have to scan the sensor, but the Dexcom, you don't have to scan it. So that's the main difference. The Dexcom takes 2 hours to calibrate. The Libre takes 1 hour to calibrate. The Dexcom is usually worn on your abdomen. The Libre, they want you to wear it on the back of your arm. However, the Libre does work in the Dexcom. Well, the Dexcom, you don't have to scan, so it doesn't matter if you have clothing on. The Libre will work through clothing. So those are kind of the main differences with it. I kind of wanted to go into a little bit about how to get one, because that, I know I see the Libre commercial on TV here where I'm at. I'm in Virginia like 20 times a day. So I get a lot of calls about it because the commercial's playing all the time. And I love the Libre. I had to buy it myself because I did not qualify for my insurance to pay for it. So here in America, kind of what it is, like I said, Medicare tends to make the rules for insurance companies, and private insurance companies kind of follow what Medicare says. So right now, the qualifications to get a continuous glucose meter paid for at usually 80% to 100% by your insurance company. If you have type 1 diabetes, you automatically qualify. If you have type 2 diabetes, you have to be on insulin multiple times a day in order for your doctor for you to check your blood sugar levels at least 4 times a day. So usually if you have type 2, which is the type of diabetes I have, you only qualify if you're taking multiple injections and doing multiple finger sticks. I do not take insulin. I take pills for my diabetes. So right there, I didn't qualify. So I paid out of pocket. The thing about the CGMs, you can't just walk up to the pharmacy and buy it. You have to have a physician order, whether you bill insurance or not. So like I said, I got this 2 years ago when it first kind of came out. It cost me $210 to buy the sensor, which I didn't even know I didn't need. I didn't know there was an app for it till after I got it. So I really didn't even need to buy the reader. I meant to say the sensor was $75 each. So I had the 10-day system. So I needed 3 sensors to make it through a month. So you can do the math. It ended up costing me, I can't even do the math because I don't want to do it, $200 some a month out of pocket. The price has come down some, and most insurance companies, even if you don't qualify, they will give you a discount, or the pharmacy will. So now it's about $75 a month for the sensors out of pocket, and it's still about $160 for the reader. That's the Libre. The Dexcom, you also must have a doctor's order, but you can also pay out of pocket for that one. That one is more expensive. I checked last week. It's about $600 for the Dexcom system. The transmitter is about $300, and the sensors that you change are around $100 to $200 depending on where you buy it. So the average price for the Dexcom could be $400 to $600 a month out of pocket, you know, which is a whole lot of money. So that's kind of the struggle. You would think because someone's blind and these devices are accessible that they would automatically be approved by insurance, but they are not. I actually was on a call. I participated in a call yesterday from the American Diabetes Association, and it was an Ask the Experts call, and there was an endocrinologist on there. And actually, one of the people that called in with a question was a blind lady. She said, I am blind. The call was about new technology, and he covered CGMs. And she said, so what new technology in diabetes would help me because I'm blind? And the endocrinologist didn't have a clue. So the question about who makes the decision, it's a team effort. You might be the one educating your diabetes educator or your doctor that the CGMs are accessible with your blindness. They might not even know that because most people don't even think about that. You know, that just confirmed it yesterday in that call with this world-renowned endocrinologist. Didn't know how to answer the question about what equipment works for low vision and no vision. So you might have to explain to them, you know, hey, I want to get this CGM because I can download the app and my phone will tell me what my blood sugar reading is, you know, and it'll help me stay better in control. So I'll tell you kind of what I've had done. Like I said, the insurance company usually always says no. So if you have type 1, like I said, you automatically qualify. So get with your doctor, get them to order it and get you the CGM. If you have type 2, that's where the battle comes in. I have had actually two now. I have had 2 clients that I work with who were denied the Libre. Their doctor filled out the medical necessity form and basically fought the insurance company and said that this person, even though they're not on multiple injections and only have to check their blood sugar 2 to 3 times a day, because they are blind, this is the only accessible way for them to check their blood sugar. And after about a 3-month battle going back and forth, it was approved. So once again, I'm not saying it's easy, but it is possible to get it approved with the insurance company, but your doctor has to kind of fight the fight for you because it's all in the doctor's pocket for him to say it's medically necessary for you. And that's the way out of them saying no. So I hope that helps. Advocacy is the #1 thing. So that's kind of all I have. This information is on the handouts. Also on the handouts is the continuous glucose meter handout. There's a list of websites. They have some great videos on both the Dexcom and the Freestyle site that have videos that talk about every aspect of the CGMs. They also have, I'm not sure, I don't think the Dexcom has this, but the Freestyle has a free trial unless you have Medicare. If you have private insurance, you can go on their website or call the number and sign up and get 1 free sensor so you can try it out. And then if you like it, then you got to figure out how you're going to get it. But that is nice. So that information's on there as well. You have the thumb guide method that gives you the step-by-step on how to get blood on a strip with no vision. And you also have how to get a talking meter, and it has the information on that accessible pharmacy that I talked about. So I guess now I'll open it up. We have about 17 minutes or so if there's any questions anyone has.
Kim and Marana, thank you both so much for this information. Just really great stuff. And I have fielded all the questions so far. We do have a comment from Monica, who says that she's a type 1 diabetic and for about 58 years, and she has been using the Dexcom for over 10 years and swears by it, and she's totally blind and loves it. And then we've had a few questions. I do see that we have one person, no, we have 3 people with their hands up.
Okay.
It is about 15 minutes till our hard stop. So are you all okay with us maybe taking a couple of questions live?
Sure.
All right, so I am going to, let's see, our first, where did we go here? Bear with me just a second. Our first question comes from area code 848. I am going to, you are able to unmute now if you'd like to, and feel free to ask your question.
Yes, good evening. My name is Angela, and I'm from New Jersey. Kim, I wasn't on the original email. Someone forwarded over to me,
Okay.
but you were excellent, and I would like to know some contact information.
So Angela, this is Melanie. I don't know if we are able to give Kim's contact information, and certainly I can connect you to Kim. Also,
Okay,
if
wonderful.
you want to give us your contact information, I can either reach out to you or have someone reach out to you with some resources, if that would be helpful.
Oh, that would be wonderful. What do you want? Do you want phone number, email, or both?
Email is fine.
Okay. Do you have something to take it down?
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay. Let me think. ANG345X@gmail.com.
Okay. I will reach out to you, Angela.
And I would love to get the handouts too.
Absolutely. We'll get you hooked up. Thank you, Angela.
I thank you so much. It's been wonderful.
Thank you.
All right. Next question comes from area code 614. If you want to unmute and let us know who you are, and feel free to ask your question.
Okay, I have a comment and a question, both.
Okay.
First of all, thank you very much for putting this on today. And maybe I can get with somebody to find out about the handouts as well, because I did not know about them. I would like to encourage anyone who wants these CGMs to fight for it, because my insurance, I know, denied it initially, and with a little help from my doctor, and then me having to send in an appeal letter, and once they understood this was something I needed as a blind person, it made it a bit easier to procure these items. So I wanted to mention that. Also, I wanted to ask the person that did talked about how to get the blood and everything. Have you ever come up with a way to do anything with alternate site testing? Because, me being totally blind, using my fingers for everything, particularly Braille, I'm an avid Braille reader. I just really don't want to, stick my fingers. And so I would really like to find a reliable way to do alternate site testing on occasion, if I needed to verify something. And husband wasn't there to help me, or I wasn't sure about a reading, that I'm getting with the Libre or whatever.
This is Kim, definitely. I haven't really, you just reminded me of that. Not every meter will do alternate testing. The Prodigy does. I am not sure about the Rely On. I haven't looked into that. But one thing that might help is, like, if you choose a site on your stomach, it's just kind of pinch the skin between two fingers. And instead of keeping your thumb on the finger with the thumb guide method, just keep that skin pinched. And you know that you're going to prick yourself in the pinched skin area. So that gives you, it's all about getting a smaller body surface area to kind of.
Right. Yeah, I've never tried it on my stomach. We've tried it on my arm, but.
Yeah, it's hard to do it on your arm by yourself. I mean, that's a tough one. Sometimes you can do it on your thigh. You can do it on your thigh or your stomach.
Okay.
It just, it's kind of pin the tail on the donkey, It's
sure.
It's hard.
Yeah, I understand.
But,
okay.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thought.
Yes, and the Libre doesn't need to be calibrated, but you're right. There are some times because it's testing from interstitial fluid, there's sometimes a delay. When you're doing a finger stick, you're getting the direct blood and it's testing it. With the interstitial fluid, it's a little bit of delay. So the Libre gives you the up and down, like you're in range, like the Dexcom does, but it might be trending down, and then your blood sugar drops before it tells you actually what it is. So when you're feeling weird or have symptoms, yes, you do want to do a finger stick. But yeah, I know that's a tough one. It's hard when you run out of areas and you have scar tissue. It makes it so hard. That's, if you have diabetes for a long time, that's kind of what you run into. I'm hoping technology is going to catch up with everything and everything's going to be accessible. And in 10 years, we won't even need to stick our finger anymore. But I don't know. I hope so. They're doing infrared, just kind of on the technology news. There is a scanner that is in production that is a laser that reads your blood sugar from your interstitial fluid without having to insert a filament or a needle. And that is in production now, and they're testing it, but it's a couple years down the road.
Oh, I want it.
I know. And then Google.
Yeah, I've heard they're going to try to do something with the upcoming Apple Watch also.
Yes, they are. So I don't know how much it's going to cost, but and Google also has developed contact lenses that test your blood sugar through your tears.
Oh my goodness.
So that's in production right now. It's $5,000 to $10,000 just to get in the beginning of it, just to try to get to it. But so hopefully technology will catch up with everything.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you for your question.
Well, maybe you can put out some contact information or something for one of you so we can get in touch and get some of this information that you guys were putting out.
That is a very good, it brings me to a great point that what we are going to do, typically we put a link to the handouts in the registration, the reminder emails that you receive after you register for the webinar. However, I realize that there are people here or several people have called in by phone, so maybe you weren't given that information. And so what I'd like to invite you to do is to email or call our information and referral department, and they can then forward that information to you. And so the email for the information and referral line is connectcenter@aph.org. And then the phone number is 800-232-5463. And I'll give that again before we leave. But I also wanted to share that we will have these documents available to download in a follow-up email that we'll be sending out as well. So hopefully that'll be helpful. Do we have any other questions? I've seen a couple of comments. Just really want to thank you, Kim and Marana, for sharing with us. And yes, thank you, Chris, for putting in the information in the chat for anyone. Beth says, amazing webinar, got so much out of this. Thank you so much. I saw that Chanel says that she is able to use her Dexcom system without any visual assistance using the voice dream scanner for her transmitter codes,
Nice.
and Super Sense or Envision AI to read the sensor Vogue. And then Milton wanted everyone to know that both the Libre and the Dexcom apps are free.
Correct.
And so we have just a few more moments if anyone has any additional questions that they'd like to ask. I want to extend that opportunity to you all. And just once again, thank you so much. We're getting a lot of comments thanking you guys for your participation. Kat says thank you. Awesome, Kim and Marana.
Melanie, if I could, I did want to mention one thing because someone had said
Absolutely.
something about an insulin pump, and I forgot to mention this.
Go ahead.
So the mini med pump has a CGM called the Guardian sensor that talks with it. So that is an option if you have an insulin pump. Unfortunately, none of the pumps are accessible. Most of them are touchscreen. I do have clients that have absolutely no vision that use insulin pumps, and how they do it is usually they memorize the buttons, they memorize the settings, or they use visual assistance or Be My Eyes or Seeing AI or other visual ways, visual assistance programs to help them. But the Guardian sensor is the CGM that will talk to the mini med pump. And one of the neat things is when you have that system, you can put it into active mode and it acts as an artificial pancreas, they call it. So basically what happens is the Guardian sensor is constantly taking your blood sugar readings and it will adjust your insulin for you on your bolus. On your basal, sorry. Basal rate is the rate you're getting all the time. So it will adjust that as needed in response to what your blood sugar levels are. So that takes one step out of that process for you. It does not affect your basal rate. Usually if you have an insulin pump and you do your basal rate, which is an as needed insulin dose, usually you do it by how many carbohydrates you're eating or what your blood sugar level is. So if you have to give yourself a bolus, that's the only time that you need to figure out what your blood sugar reading is or how many carbs, and you have to manipulate the pump. So it's come a long way. So hopefully that's something that will help someone. There also is the Omnipod system, which is an insulin delivery system that kind of is like it. I'm trying to describe what it looks like. It's like a little plastic container that is maybe half the size of a deck of cards, and you insert insulin into that, and that slowly injects insulin into you over 24 to 72 hours, depending on your dose. The Omnipod Dash does have a CGM. They just are developing it now. I might be getting my info wrong, but I do believe the Dash system has a CGM that you can use with it. But once again, it doesn't calculate anything for you like the mini-med and the Guardian sensor would. And there's also one other continuous glucose meter that's on the blog that I wrote that's on the Vision Aware website. I don't know why the name escapes me. It's like Eversense or something like that. Anyway, it is an implantable CGM that your doctor inserts under your skin every 90 days. And it works kind of the same way. So there are options out there. Of course, you have to have your doctor on board to write the order, but hopefully there's something out there that will help you.
Thanks so much, Kim. And again, thank you, Marana. We have literally just 3 moments left. Chris, do you want to take just a moment to talk about the diabetes information that is on the Vision Aware website? And then once we cover that, I'll give the closing code and put that in the chat as well. Not to put you on the spot, Pris, if you're not, Pris has been putting some great information in the chat. But for those of you who are not able to read the chat, I wanted to be able to talk about what's on the site.
Yeah, I finally got myself unmuted.
Okay, great.
Okay, so we have a whole section on Vision Aware on diabetes, and it talks about what is diabetes. It goes through a lot of the things that Kim has talked about, and in fact, Kim is in the midst of updating that whole section for us. We do have a guide, but we are updating it, but it is there on the site right now if you want to check it out. So on the website under eye conditions, there's this whole section on diabetes. Also, we have a number of blog posts about diabetes that Kim and others have written, And you can find them by using the keyword diabetes in the search term, and all that information will come up. And that's maybe the easiest way to find all of it, is using that keyword, because the search on Vision Aware works pretty well. So we encourage you to use those resources. And like I said, we're updating them anyway, but we've got good stuff. So check them out. And pretty soon we're going to be the go-to place for diabetes and visual impairment in the whole world. Thanks
That's
to the help
right.
that we have from Kim and others. So.
Yes, we have certainly had some wonderful, one of our Vision Aware peer advisors, Audrey Demet, has also been assisting with the updating of all of our diabetes material. And these ladies have just put in some really hard work, and it's just wonderful resources. So check out visionaware.org, and you can search for diabetes. It's also listed under, is it under your eye condition, I believe? Is that
Yes, it is.
where
That's
it's
where it
at?
is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have a lot of stuff there, so I get confused. But in any case, I'll just say thank you from all of us, Kim and Miranda. We really appreciate your time and expertise and knowledge. We've gotten some comments about everyone's just really appreciated this also.